fans. I am backstage with the big winner tonight.
He is undefeated in the squared circle.
No one beats us to the punch.
Fans, I am backstage with my co-host Big Boy and the winner tonight, Lorenzo the Juggernaut Hunt. Lorenzo, that fight was just amazing. Let's talk about that.
Listen, I knew that Quentin Henry would be strong. I knew that he would be fierce, and I knew that he would be fighting in front of his family. But he has no idea how strong I am. He has no idea how fierce I am, and he didn't know that I was fighting in front of my family too.
What do you think the keys to victory were for Lorenzo tonight?
You know, Susan, what we continuously see here with Lorenzo is him coming in to the fight with home field advantage not on his side, yet coming out victorious. So I think the victory for Lorenzo tonight was him staying calm and knowing that this is something he's done before and he's going to continue to do it like he says.
Speaking of staying calm, you know, I wonder what was going through your mind because it is the hometown and they were cheering for Henry. Did that factor it all into your mind while you were inside the squared circle tonight?
Not at all. Fighting at home is a luxury that I've never had. And we've been working very, very hard with BKFC and VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena to get me a home fight. I've been fighting for 10 years, and I've never been allowed to fight at home in front of my home crowd. So I've never had the cheers. I've never had no one at the top of the mountain cheering for me. It's always been boos, and I'm used to it now.
Well, how does that affect you as a fighter? Does it motivate you? Would some fighters be less motivated or intimidated because of the fact that they don't have the hometown advantage?
Well, in your normal fighter, yeah, it would hurt them. But I've been dealing with Lorenzo for a little over a decade. I started matchmaking his amateur fights for him 8-9 years ago, and he was never the hometown guy. But he would come in, win in his opponent's hometown, and then he would become the hometown guy. And I'd like to change that, Lorenzo. You have fought in your home because you've stolen some homes in the promotions in the past. So.
How important was this fight to your legacy, Lorenzo?
Honestly, to tell you the truth, it was a stepping stone for me. I've been the 205 champ for over a year now. When I defeated Hector Lombard, I signed a contract to fight for the 205 belt, but it was stolen from me. And that's why all the craziness with Hector Lombard made me the king of the 185 division. But in all actuality, I earned the 205 belt, and it's been in hiatus for over a year. And now that I was able to fight Quentin Henry and solidify myself as a double world champion, I'm looking for bigger and better things.
That was a crazy fight. Let's break that fight down for the fans, because a lot happened so quickly.
It was my plan to come out and force Henry to fight a fight that he's never fought. I was planning to come and take a shot and beat him and push him and pull him and force him to fight harder than he's ever fight in his life in the first 30 seconds of a fight. And so I did that. I completed that. But it did throw me off when he pretended to be hurt. He pretended to be hurt when the fight first when I missed that punch, and I missed it on purpose because when I went to throw it, I said, oh no, and I moved it. I knew I missed, and he tried to lay there, and he tried to pretend he was hurt. I may have caught him with the shot right before that. I don't know. I need to look at the tape, but he tried to quit, and my dad was telling me, go, tell him, fight. And I went over and I said, Quentin, you get your ass up. Your whole family is here. And he did. And I appreciate Quentin Henry for that, for having the heart to get up and continue to fight, because he could have laid there and he could have played dead.
What are your thoughts on that, Big Boy? It was a very interesting fight from the get-go, and it looked like Quentin came back and he was ready to go, but as usual, Lorenzo was victorious.
Yeah, you know, it was a really confusing first round. You know, both fighters tangled up and tripped and fell. From what I saw, I felt like Quentin hit his head on the back of the ring and maybe that hurt him. But I think it was probably one of the best promotional decisions ever to continue with that fight, because you saw that crowd was standing, Lorenzo. The whole crowd, this entire Coliseum was on their feet for that entire fight.
How How important is it for you, Lorenzo, to have people like Elvin Leon Brito in your corner? Because I believe that training camp, they've got the most champions coming out of Puerto Rico, and you've been a part of that training camp for a really long time.
I may be the double world champ, but Elvin Brito is the champion of all champions. I would not be where I am today if it wasn't for Elvin Brito pushing me up the mountain. We go to Manabo, Puerto Rico, and we fight our heart out, and the hardest thing in the world for me to do is to keep up with Elvin Brito as he run up the mountain that he's been running up his whole life. And it terrifies me to think that someone is that strong. Elvin Brito is stronger than me. That's craziness. He beats me every day up the mountain. And so when I come here, he knew, he said, he was about to say, take Henry up La Pica. But when he looked at me, he knew I was already going up.
You know, Lorenzo, we started in Bare Knuckle together at BKFC-30, so I remember the tryouts. You were a much different fighter, and I was a different hair color. Did you ever think from that point at BKFC-30 that you'd be standing here as a double champ? Does it feel surreal to you?
I knew for a fact that I would be the champ. I've been training since I was 5. My father took me under his wing and taught me martial arts, and he taught me discipline, and he taught me to control the fire. I was able to control the fire from a young age, and I'm still able to control the fire now. There was never one time during that fight that I thought that I would lose. And Quentin Henry, he let it in. And he had no choice because I refused, and we had 2 more rounds to go, and I would have stayed on his ass. I would have lit a fire under his ass until his dingleberries turned into popcorn. I was not gonna stop.
Final thoughts on the fight, Mr. Chris Jensen.
You know, my only question is, we've seen you just dominate here in BKFC. We've seen you fight. You're only one loss with one Gustavo, I think. But what I want to know is tonight, was there any shot that Quentin connected with that might have hurt you or stunned you?
Quentin Henry stunned me with the jab after I lost my concentration after the weirdness. I lost my concentration, I fell off my game plan, and I stood in front of him a little too long, even knowing I had a plan to counter his jab. He was able to land it not once but twice, and I very rarely ever get hit with the jab. And when he hit me, it pissed me off. I said, I'm gonna kill you.
Before we go tonight, Lorenzo, are there any friends, family, sponsors you'd like to thank?
I'd like to give a special shout out to First Round Management. I'd like to give a shout out to OnlyFans for sponsoring me. I'd like to give a shout out to the Dak Shack, to Frank Marshall. I'd like to give a shout out to Bottoms Up, to everybody in Jacksonville who shows me love and stick with me. The National Alliance to End Veteran Suicide. We are really coming together as a community. People are taking a special interest in me. Icky Kata brand, who puts me up on billboards in New York, that people are finally starting to notice after 10 years of the entire decade of fighting and winning. People are finally starting to take notice of my skill level, and they are coming and they are rushing with sponsorships, and they are showing love, and I've never had love before. I've never had the people cheering for me at the top of the mountain like they cheered for Quentin Henry here tonight. But the people behind the scenes, I even had the guy from the ViStar Veteran Memorial Arena. He flew out here just to watch me fight. So we will be fighting in Jacksonville very, very soon. Thank you so much, everybody, for showing love to me.
All right, well, you heard it here first. I'm here with the big champ and my co-host, Chris Big Boy Jensen. For Bare Knuckle News, I'm Susan Singari, and this is...
Big Boy.
And this is...
Lorenzo the Juggernaut Hunt.
And no one, and I mean no one, beats us to the punch.